So we're here for You Get It number four on a different day, Thursday, than the usual Wednesday. And this was recorded earlier in the day. With me, I have Tom. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, Ashwin. Pleasure to be here, man.
So let's start off again for the people following You Get for the first time. You Get standing for unabashedly giving all the time, and my guests are people who are living that life about giving. So I'm going to start off with your LinkedIn profile, which caught my attention. I will tell you why in a bit, right? So the way it starts off is for the last two plus decades, I've worked for large and small companies alike, and even started and participated in some startups. I've helped manage 100 billion plus in assets, guided a small company to 50 million in ARR. I was surrounded by evidence of success, but dot, 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 none of it felt right. I felt unfulfilled. I desperately wanted more purpose and a better direction. So, the end of 2019, I started my new life. So, I'm going to pause over there, right? Because this is a very unusual LinkedIn profile heading, right? It talks a lot about who you are, Tom, but I think from just introducing yourself to the community, I mean, talk a little bit about your journey and where you are, and then we'll dive in.
That sounds great. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for your patience. Uh, I I would love to kind of get into my background. It's certainly been an interesting ride and a very compelling journey for myself. So to go to what you just illustrated from my profile, I started my career in the financial sector out of college, and it was one of those from the outside. It looked like I was doing what was expected. I was working in a very fast-paced, exciting environment. I was stepping up the ladder, and got to a point where I was on a trading desk, and we were responsible for trading up to $100 billion in assets. So on the surface, it looked very cool and exciting. And, I had, titles next to my name and accolades, and people must have thought that, oh man, he's got everything, all set. But on the inside, it always felt that there was more that I was missing. And the more I was really honest with myself, and the more I was really, diving into the journey I wanted to take, it made me realize that where I was not where I wanted to be. And so through some nice divine intervention, I was able to extricate myself from that finance position, and I got to start a new journey, which is kind of where I'm jumping in now. It's a whole new adventure, but it's having me realize that living a life with purpose and more meaning, is vastly better for me and more fulfilling to me than doing what I was previously.
Wow. So one of the things, again, going back to the UGAT philosophy, right, which is being able to give, right? And in lots of cases, it's like, hey, I'm going to become a guru at this or an expert at this, and then I can give dole out financial advice or can dole out real estate advice. But again, following your post for definitely over a month, maybe two right now, you are consistently giving back, right? And if I look at you and say, I wouldn't even have thought you had the finance background. I thought you had more of a person, motivation, leadership,
Mhm.
human resources background. But and the question really is, how does number one somebody get over this mental hurdle of okay, I can't start giving until I've reached the summit, right? And that self uh, questioning or the imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. First question is, how did you get past that, and how you continuously be able to give back in a relatively new area for you compared to what where your career has been?
Right. That's a great question. And I find myself kind of answering that in a way that I didn't expect to, because I didn't expect to be in this position. Now it's just kind of unfolded organically for myself. I noticed early on in my career that the things that I gravitated towards were more of the coaching elements in life. I became a coach for my kids' teams and for the YMCA, and I just saw the impact that had on people, and I started really realizing the skill set that I had was more aligned with that. I was a good listener. I could mirror stuff back to people, and I could kind of guide and mentor in ways that I didn't think possible. And as I've gotten older, I think that has just become more of a true element to my personality, and it's allowed me to see how impactful that can be, even small scale. Helping one or two people here or there, it fills me in ways that all the other things I've done in my career just really haven't. And I run my own business as well, but I cater to a similar audience. I cater to small business folks, people who are lost or trying to figure out their ways, and it's complementary to what I do on the coaching side. To where my main goal is to just improve the way people see things, the way they do things, the way they perform, and that to me has kind of put me in a place where I feel so much more alive, and I'm doing things with a much grander purpose, and it's a more selfless adventure for me. And as we get older, certain things shift in our paradigms, and we tend to want to give back more. And I think as you mentioned, people think that they have to reach this penultimate level to start giving. But I think for me, it was realizing that I can start giving now before I've reached any level of success in this endeavor. And that can kind of be the impetus to really just strive and work harder at this and try to impact more people than I thought possible. And that's kind of where I just get energized and wake up every morning with a sense of a better purpose for myself.
Yeah, that's an amazing feeling, right? Like waking up with that energy. So one of the other things, again, coming from a business background, this is something that obviously we've had to deal with, this whole concept about ROI, right? The investment going in versus what benefits are getting out of it. And the you got it philosophy is completely different, right? It's playing the long game. It's building the karma bank, but it's not for looking for, hey, I've helped Tom, therefore when is he going to help me? So what kind of mental shift have you had to do? And again, advice for others who have been built up this whole thing, and for lots of businesses for the right reasons. But then we are in this phase right now when you start seeing you-getters, there's a certain magnetism that they have, right? So even if they're giving unabashedly, if any one of those, and it's happened a few times already in the community you and I are part of, that few people have reached out, and I've immediately gone out of my way to help them because they're you-getters, right? So how does where does this whole concept of forget about the ROI, start investing and giving back, and the payback will come in unexpected forms?
Yeah, and to me, that's always kind of been a way that I perceive the world. I mean, I think I've always kind of had that semblance of understanding the more you give, the more you get in return, and it's a karma thing for me. And just being a good human and being there to help people, it seems like that's what we were put here to do, is especially if we recognize it and understand the benefits of trying to improve everyone else, it can't help but improve yourself. Because when you do that over and over again, you're making everyone else around you better. Therefore, you're going to rise up to that level just for the simple fact that you're helping everyone else. And that to me is just a kind of a way of life, and the way I was raised, the way I think. I've played sports all my life, and when you're able to help those around you get better, your team is going to get better. And it's just a mentality that I think I adopted at an early age and understood the greater impact that could have. And it's just kind of been a systematic approach I've used in everything I've tried to get involved in. And the great thing is, when I was involved in the corporate world, I didn't get a chance to really hone in and focus on that. But now that I've liberated myself from that, it allows me a whole new way of approaching that aspect of myself, and being able to be that type of person to give back and make a bigger difference than I thought possible.
So a segue from that, and this is something that actually hit me, because there was another contact of mine, a good friend of mine, and she had posted on Facebook in another community that we're part of about needing to draw boundaries, because she was feeling that she was getting pulled into providing advice to her friends, uh, kids and neighbors, and she was saying, I feel overwhelmed. I'm feeling this mental fatigue. So the question is, again, in this you got mode where you're constantly giving, um, how does someone respect their mental health? How does someone actually respect the boundaries and saying, hey, you got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others? So how, any tips on how you go about doing that?
Sure, and that's a tough one. I mean, you get into the mindset of wanting to help people, and it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
And for me, being an ex-athlete, being someone with that mindset of knowing that I need to take care of myself before I can be better for others, it's tough to set those boundaries, but it's necessary. And especially when you're starting off, there's certain things that you do want to, you want to give the advice to the friends and the kids, but when it gets to the point where you even sense that it's overwhelming you, you do need to step back and just kind of take, take an idea of how I can best serve people, but maybe take a step back and realize that, I can't be everything to everyone. So I need to really prioritize who I'm helping and how I'm helping. And it's trial and error, as with everything else. You have to understand what your limitations are, and then you have to, understand how you are best able to serve those who are seeking advice from you. And it's a slippery slope, because you don't want to stop people from asking you, because that's what you're designed for. You want to try to help those, but in the same vein, you want to be able to respectfully tell them, I can't right now because I'm really focusing on some other issues right now. So I think as long as you're respectful toward the people who are reaching out to you, it's all semantics when if you can, give them an idea that you will get to them. It's just, it has to be more aligned with how it can best help them when you're in a better spot. So it's really about effective communication at the end, where you can, you still want to appease their requests, but do so in a healthy manner.
Yeah, I think that's great perspective. So continuing on, this is an easy one for you, but I think it's hard for most people, including myself, right? Which is consistency. And your LinkedIn posts are like consistent, right? I can almost predict, right? When I open, and again, you're 2 hours ahead of me, so I know there's a
Right.
post from Tom as soon as I get on LinkedIn the first thing in the morning. Is that something that you grew up with, or is it an acquired quality? And if somebody who hasn't been consistent all their life, how do they develop this habit of consistency when it comes to giving?
And that to me, I think it's partly how you grew up, how things were structured for you. Again, as an athlete, I knew I had to abide by a schedule, work out, nutrition, practice, all that stuff. So I grew up very structured. When I got out of school, obviously that changed a little bit, and I had to adapt to different types of schedules to, increase my effectiveness. And with recent aspects of how I've kind of jumped on LinkedIn and started creating content. I mean, if you told me 2 years ago I'd be writing something for LinkedIn every day, I'd kind of say, no way, I don't even use LinkedIn. But for me, it's been a way of really focusing in on what I can improve about myself. And I made an intentional effort, like, I'm going to start writing on LinkedIn every day. I didn't know exactly how it was going to look or what it was going to be, and I just kind of fell into it. The niche just kind of came to me as people were reaching out to me, and I thought, well, I have good business experience, but I've failed a lot. I've learned a lot from those failings. So what can I do to really effectively impart that to others? So I thought, well, I'll share some stories. I'll share some of my opinions. And it just became one of those things that it started growing inside me, and it became easier the more I did it. And the consistency part of it was, I know that that's the only way to become successful at anything, is to be consistent with it. I've learned that from different elements of my life. It's not fun sometimes. It's challenging and it's daunting, especially when you're trying to create content. You're like, what am I going to write about today? But as long as I think it falls within a comfortableness of what you're familiar with, and you develop kind of a routine and a rhythm with everything. It does, not that it's ever easy, but it becomes easier the more you do it. And again, I have days like anybody else where I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about today? What am I going to write about? But I overcame that by really tapping into those periods where I am thinking creatively, and I just throw out all sorts of ideas. I put it, on the computer, and I save it for later, and then I kind of tweak it and make it sound more like my style down the road a little bit. So I try to post about a month out, but I'm always tweaking. I go and review things and go, well, does that tie into what I've been talking about, or what's going on in the world, or what's going on in my life? And so the only thing I really change is the dates that I post things.
Got it. Yeah, and again, I think that aspect of being able to stay consistent is a hard one, right? For lots of
It
people, I
is.
think that rhythm. So one other thing, again, I know you do this all the time, but again, this goes back to the giving is not just about Tom posting. The giving is the amount of comments you give to other people's posts. So again, talk a little bit about how someone starts doing that, because I've had a few connections of mine. It's like aha moments for them. It's like, okay, maybe if you start doing that before you start looking for people to engage with your posts. But again, I think that going back to the larger purpose, why Tom actually engages with other people's posts, and how has that helped you?
And I think that is the best part of LinkedIn, when you can engage with other people and you kind of get an idea and sense of what they're trying to accomplish. And again, it goes back to my personality. I'm a big supporter. I'm a big encourager. I was always the team captain on my team. So I was one who, tried to pull everyone up and get them to their best place. So to me, it's a very natural act. It's not something I feel like, okay, I'm going to dedicate 30 minutes a day and I'm just going to, I'm going to comment on 30 people's posts. I just go around and I see what others are writing about it. And then, I try to get into their rhythm. I try to understand what they're speaking about. And when I comment, I'm trying to make it, thoughtful and, not just, oh, I agree, or, thumbs up. I try to engage a little bit deeper, just to show that I am, really caring about what they're saying. And I do understand what they're trying to get through to people. And to me, that's just being a good person, being someone who's supportive. And again, it all goes back to, if I can help other people achieve success and pull everyone up, that only means that at some point I'm going to rise up to the same level that they are. And that's my whole MO. I'm trying to encourage others, help others, because I know just indirectly that's going to help me. And to me, that's not, I don't want to say that's selfless, but it's not selfish. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, because there's a rhyme and a reason for trying to help people, because yes, you want to help other people. And at the same time, you're a human being. You want to try to boost yourself up too, because you want to feel good. You want to feel like you're, impacting people. You want to be, feel like you're contributing to the society as a whole. So there's that balance you try to affect. And I think that, by engaging with other people, it just has that, that collegial way of bringing more people together. And when they start seeing your name, it becomes familiar, and then they feel like they know you and they reach out, and it's like your old friends. And that's kind of the cool thing about this platform.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. That's how you and I connected, right? I remember
Mhm.
about 3 weeks ago. So, final question for you, Tom, which is for somebody who has never been a yoga in his or her life, right? What's the first step that you would encourage? And again, this is a broad-based question, but again, if for somebody who's like has all the mental hurdles, they don't know whether they are good enough, they've always measured themselves on ROI. What's the first thing that he or she can start doing right now to start going down that path?
Sure. And what I like to tell people is, you have to go down the road of self-discovery.
Mhm.
You have to figure out what really, gets you going, what energizes you, what you feel you can share to the world. And once you kind of get a better understanding of what really, gets you going, and you get to the point where you want to share that because you get excited about it. You want others to get excited about it. And that to me is the whole way of improving as a person and as a, as a community member, whether it's on LinkedIn platform or somewhere different. If you get to the point where you understand kind of what you want to convey to others, either about yourself or about your service or about your desires, and you can share that in a way that is, is bringing people together, or you're doing it in a way that can make a difference for somebody else. That's the first step in really trying to be a you-gatter. You want to give value to other people to help them maybe with their own struggles or with their own ways of dealing with things. And just by introspection, I think, is the best first step to try to really understand what gets you really motivated to make an impact in the world. You want to try to find those things that make a difference in your life, because if they make a difference in your life, most likely they're going to make a difference in someone else's life.
Wow. Yeah, I know. Great last words again. Tom, thanks for taking the time, and continue being a you-gatter, and love seeing your posts and your comments.
I appreciate it, Ashwin. Really enjoyed this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.